So when we're talking about defined anything in human design, defined gate, defined channel, defined center, every space in human design has gifts and grapples or hardships or whatever word you want to use for that. And this is one thing that why I love source information, because some people who share human design, they really just share on like the gifts of it. But in order to access the gifts that you have, and there are gifts in your open centers in as well, it's not just in your defined centers. You have to get through the grapples of how you might be conditioned to be using that energy in the wrong way. So I can give a wonderful example of myself. I actually have the channel of transmission. It is also known as the salesperson channel. And I very much struggle with sales. So it doesn't matter that I have that definition. I'm meant to grow into that. I'm meant to trial and error my way to being a master of not just sales, but sharing the products that humanity needs and sharing it from my heart, and bringing people, into this spaces that, and with the products, the spaces, everything that they need. But I have to like grow into that. It's sometimes if we're not super conditioned, we can be flowing gifts from some of our defined centers, but other times we really have to still grow up and see where we can get out of alignment in our defined centers as well. And when we're looking at somebody and how they're moving in their business, I think like first and foremost, you need to be in your authentic design. And this is where, again, going to source information is so powerful, because source will not compartmentalize human design into like business human design or like your love life human design. That is great fun to play in these different realms. But first, if you don't know your human design and you're not deconditioned, you are not living in your authentic flow, it doesn't matter what you try to apply from the business standpoint or the relationship standpoint, because you're not actually living in your design. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's cool.
So
Yeah.
I think it's really powerful to, before diving into the niches that people can put themselves in with
Hmm.
human design, to just really get clear about who you are first. And human design is, it's not like you decondition yourself and then you're like done and you're golden for the rest of your life. As many of you know who have done deep work, there are always more layers to peel back and the work is never done. It's like a you learn human design and it's all this knowledge, and you have to shift that knowledge into being embodied wisdom for it to actually work and be implemented in your life. And so this is why I encourage a lot of like thinking of human design from this standpoint of like, okay, you hear this information, now go play on the playground with it. Like go into the real world and start playing with what this is like. It's the only way to learn how to ride a bike. You could read a million books about riding a bike, but you have to go get on the bike and practice riding the bike. And so, we can have overarching conversations about business for generators versus business for projectors and things like that, of course, but I just wanted to share that, really unlocking yourself first is the most powerful thing you can do for your business.
I love that. Hold on, Sarah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. It's kind of like what Jason was like, I don't put it all, I don't take it, on I just take it for what it is, right? And everything should be guidance, right? I mean, it's not necessarily everything's going to explode when astrology says this, right? It's like there's varying degrees of what that means. And I'm guessing it's probably the same thing here. There are varying degrees of what everything means. And it also depends on our own upbringing, our own circumstances
Yeah,
that come into play too. So
yeah,
all of the programming.
yeah.
So much
Are
program.
you, I'm sorry, Sarah, I can't remember. Are you a generator or a
I am
manifest generator?
generator. I'm a generator.
And A generator. And what's your profile number?
I'm 4-6.
A 4-6. So we know with generators that they are going to have a lot more energy to do and to create, but are here to like do and create, and maybe in a way where it's very powerful for a generator to have support in the things in their business that do not feel like fuck yeses to you, and to get really clear and honest, like what is not a fuck yes. And
Mm-hmm.
everything else, even though this is hard when you're starting out your business and you don't have extra funds to like hire people to do the things that you don't want to do. So like I have moved through this. It is challenging, you know, when somebody in business tells you like you can't go to the next level until you have an assistant who's doing blah 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
But for a generator, you really can't be in alignment if you're forcing yourself to do things in your business that you just hate.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a beautiful invitation for any generator type, manifesting generator or pure generator, for you to start getting crystal clear about like what really shuts you down in your business. Is it like taxes? You hate taxes. So, you know, hiring somebody to do your taxes so you don't even have to really think about it. Although you got to make sure you got a good person because you're so responsible, even if it's somebody else doing it. But like if you hate responding to voice memos or you hate social media, but you know you need social media, these are places where it's powerful to have support that you
Mm-hmm.
can lean on to offset those duties that just don't light you up.
Yeah.
People
What
will
I
feel that. They will feel you're not lit up in those things, especially if the thing you don't love is like marketing.
I love marketing. I don't really love doing it for myself because I get in the weeds.
Me, same
The
with me, yeah.
the perfectionist comes out and you're like, just stop. Fuck it, ship it. Fuck it, ship it.
Right.
It's one of my coaches used to say. She was like, fuck it, ship it. Fuck it,
I
ship
think
it.
I've heard you say that a couple of times before, and I
Yeah, and you do.
really
You have to just do it sometimes. And if it's messed up, it's messed up. And if it's, not perfect, that's okay because it's life. But it's very hard when, I'm working in millimeters and design and everything is perfect in the design. And so then I have to like relay that into everything else. So yeah, at least I feel like I have to, right? So it doesn't mean that I do. But
yeah.
yeah, that's fascinating. For me, I guess I find that it's my 11th hour scenario that comes into play.
Let's talk
And
about that.
yeah, we talked about that. And that um, everything is here, right? So even having like a virtual assistant, I still have to have the stuff in a spot where my virtual assistant can help.
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
like there's still things that, it's like, and I guess I could like totally give her access to my Google Photos, to my photos. but but it's one of those things of, yeah, if there was like an easier way of doing it all, that would be really great. But I haven't figured that one out yet of
Yeah.
what is the easier way of doing it.
Yeah.
So
We
and I
talked,
plan too much.
yeah.
I love
Uh,
to plan. And so I'm like, oh, let's plan this. And then I, get in the weeds of planning because planning's fun. Yeah.
yeah. Planning.
But then following through with those plans.
Yeah. So we talked about the 11th hour before
Mhm.
already. Okay. Because that's
Well, I don't,
magic
was it
portal
here or
time.
was it the three of us?
I just mention it because what I was going to say that I think is also really important, and I have a firsthand experience that I've touched on, but when I said yes to writing that chapter, the yes changed to a no. And so if you find yourself in that position and there is a way to just know it will not be like it's a no now, I just wish I didn't have to. It was Robyn was like, it was such a painful 2 weeks. I couldn't think about anything else. I was completely drowning in it. I did not want to do it. I kept starting over. Like it was hell.
Hmm.
So if in business, I think that whenever possible, if that is like, I'll give you your deposit back, change of plans, it's a no,
Oh,
right?
I've done that. Yeah.
It's really important.
Yeah.
But no, I always listen to my gut with when it comes to things that are happening in business and with clients and stuff like that. I always listen to my gut, and I always know if there's going to be a problem child, and I can always tell where the PITAs are, and I can always, I don't know if you know what a PITA is, pain in the ass clients. Yeah, so the PITA clients, there's always a PITA charge. Or is that PITA tax? Yes. And so I can always tell that. And I also learned as I was building back up my business here, that I had to be really blatant about things. So that was one of the reasons why I started a collection, is I needed to have prices on my website so people could really see. And then in the bespoke stuff, I just started going through and I'm like, yep, sorry, things start at $3,500. If you're not willing and ready to go there, then we're not moving forward. So, which sounds kind of snotty in some ways, but it's also not, because it's like, that's just where it is right now. So, I also had to get over that, right? I had to get over the fact that it sounded snotty.
Amazing what we think sounds a certain way that no one else does. Like I think
Yeah.
full boundary.
Yeah. Good boundaries. Good boundaries. Yeah. So,
But no, we did not. If you want to speak to the 11th hour, Robyn, we did not. I just said you had mentioned that we thrive in the 11th hour.
mhm.
I can't decide if I hear the baby or not.
I wasn't sure if you were like getting downloads or something.
Snack on?
No,
Are
no.
they ready?
I don't, I'm looking, I don't know why I'm looking upstairs. Like looking can make me hear him better upstairs. Um, but I was thinking about, planning. Planning is good for vacation, kind of, but planning too much as a generator is out of alignment because generator types are here to be in the now, and your sacral can't respond to the future. So you will spend a lot of time planning, but then the now will come and things will shift because your sacral will tell you otherwise. So I just wanted to like point that out. I think that like, okay, that's definitely him crying. After I say this, I'll pause, but the over planning is part of you being frozen and not wanting to take action on the thing because you probably need to rest. You probably need to go into your cocoon to get clarity. And the planning is like you putting into your cocoon and just like trying to like hang on to that little bit of energy that's left, that you can like make yourself feel better because you're forward planning.
I can
But
talk about the
yes, please.
want to go
That would
get.
be great.
So, this was really helpful, and I may have said this, but I think also as generators, we hate to be told that we need a rest because we're used to having unlimited energy. And so when I feel tired, I'm like, no, 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 I'm fine. And I know Luisa Fernanda does not suffer from this. She's been resting and she's totally fine with it. But a shift in that rest is like when we start to feel like maybe we're not making clear decisions or we're just in that analysis paralysis. It's like if we were to just give ourselves the afternoon to cocoon fully and disconnect, we would end up being so much more productive than pushing ourselves to ignore the need of the cocooning for 3 or 4 days, you know?
Mhm.
And that was
Yeah.
what was so frustrating. I mean, actually, I did that with the writing of the chapter. I'm like, I will not write it before Austin. I know that something's going to happen. But then I had a deadline, so I was like, I have to turn something in. And I knew all I needed was like rest and integration after Austin. It was such a big trip, but I didn't get
Mhm.
it. And so it's just really hard. And I think it's really important where we can. Like, I planned to write this chapter before I knew Austin was there. And had I
Yeah.
had the opportunity to be like, it's just not going to happen. Um, I did write the chapter I wanted. Like, that is where I'm at peace. The title is something, and then subtle shifts. There's nothing subtle about what my chapter. I was like, there's not, I don't, I just can't be subtle. Like, either you're here, or
Mhm.
you're not, like whatever. But I just think that the sooner we can realize, like, oh, these things are guiding me to rest. I just need an afternoon and evening. We can recharge really quickly,
Mhm.
rather than like
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
it.
I've learned that I have to do that, or my body does it for me. Yes. So that's, yeah, that's something that I think that I laughed with my husband. I'm like, I think like once a month I need to like plug it into my calendar. Well, and also I haven't gone to see my my girl, my body work girl. I don't know if I ever told you this. She died. She got a turbo cancer. And then her mother and her sister both have been diagnosed too. And I'm just like, holy fuck. So like literally in January, she was like, I'm going up. They say that I'm having issues with uh scar tissue from a surgery she'd had a while back, abdominal surgery that she'd had, and then we heard nothing from her, and we're like, what's going on? And then she reaches out and she's like, I hate to say this, but I've got hospice coming, and I have cancer, and it's un and I'm just like, girl, why didn't you like contact me before? All the things where I would have told you to go and put people to contact and all the things to go outside the system. But yeah, and I know that she did get a jab. So because she felt like she needed to for her clients. And I'm just like, girl, oh, actually, I think it was more for her parents. And I'm like, girl. And we'd had conversations about it, and she knew I was never. So yeah. So anyway, I can't go see her now. And she is very missed and very it was very tragic and very sad. And yeah. So anyway, I found another girl, but she's not quite as good, but I need to go see her. Because that is like I was on a regular once a month, that day, that was my day. I would go get work done, and then she was out at the lake, so I would like go sit on the dock and then just relax afterwards if I needed to, and just take care of me. Because afterwards I would have to take time. So yeah, so you have to listen to that too. You have to listen to your body to make sure that you are resting, because you'd have to recharge, right? Because we're Energizer bunnies.
Yeah.
Yeah, even how like with Angela's story too, that reminder as generators that just because we work in the now. So her
Yeah.
sacral said yes, maybe she can review because she's a 3 and actually it wasn't a yes. Maybe it was a no when she got asked to do this third chapter. I'm just saying this is like Angela has told me this story, right? That like she maybe is now able to look back and see that it never was a yes. And that's why it was so hard. It doesn't mean we can't do things when
Yeah.
we say yes to no's. It makes it so that we're walking through quicksand while we're doing it. It's like walking through quicksand up a hill with a torrential downpour of hail. It's just hard.
Yeah.
And to also remind yourself too that even after a yes can turn to a no in the next now moment,
Yeah.
and then can turn back to a yes with new information that you're responding to as well.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah, that's very cool. There's another thing. I I'm reading this. This is really fascinating. So this gal is out in Arizona. And she just wrote this book called Higher Self Habits. And it's written for women, right? Because most of the habit books are written by men. And she's like, I learned a lot from it, but I also have learned that women work a little different than some of the habit books say. And because we're more emotional, how does that come into play with everything? And so far, it's quite a brilliant book. I am quite impressed with it, because I've read all the habit books. Um, but it's really interesting because some of the things that she says very much, and I'm sure she's done some human design too, but it all is it what's the word I'm looking for? It coalesces like all of the things. It's really fascinating. So it's like the scientific and the human design and the all the different frameworks, the spiritual and the emotional. It brings them all together. So it's been really fascinating to read it. So I highly recommend it. It could be a book for book club. We could have a, for a book club. And it's a workbook too. So she like has you like at the end, she gives you prompts to write and journal and all the things. And so anyway, it's quite fascinating. So but it's really interesting that it's resonating with some of the things that you're saying, that some of the stuff that she's saying in here. And I'm like, oh, very fascinating. She must have done human design too.
Cool.
Yeah. So I guess that's really the main, I guess I just need to learn more about it. So when you all do your thing, we'll just have to learn more about it.
Yeah, and I think, and Robyn will say this, but everyone that I know that's studied human design, I mean, Robyn did it in a very intensive, like everyday course, but there's just so many layers. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like you're ever like, got it. It
Yeah.
keeps building and building, and you keep having more experiences and you keep meeting more people and you learn their designs and you get more lived experiences and wisdom in that way. And you just keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. So it's like, what are the channels? What are the numbers? What do they all mean? It's like I've never gotten to that stage of it. And it's like I understand a little bit more of the what do you call it when they're filled in and when they're not defined and not defined. And all the different definitions, I guess, too, that go with that. I've learned that, but I don't really know what the channels are and I don't really know what the numbers mean. So
So the numbers are, there's a cool story, but I don't know how long ago. There was a king or an emperor walking and saw the shell of a turtle and was like, total download of these
right.
six patterns that they saw on the shell. And from that, fast forward to the 1950s or so when they discovered that we have our DNA and 64 codons, like each of those numbers, there's 64 numbers on your human design. Each one of those numbers relates to one of the I Chings. It's I Ching.
Yeah, I Ching hexagrams. So the hexagrams that are built into the layers of human design are ancient. It's ancient Chinese way of looking at the being. And Ra, in the information that he was given with this download of human design, was also told that this was built into the codons of our genetic code as well. And this has now been proven in science since his getting this transmission. And this is where human design is in our DNA. It's not just about our birth time and astrology, it is embedded in our DNA. And depending on, so this is where more layers come. So you have your defined channels and gates. And within those gates are different expressions. There are 6 different ways within each gate that gate is expressed. You will not hear many people in human design even talking about the depths of this because it maybe doesn't make for engaging content. I don't know, to talk about the depths of human design in that way. And even when you go for readings with people, unless you're going into like an in-depth, it's been like you've already had multiple readings to get through the top layers of stuff. You maybe wouldn't go into those other layers, but those other layers are really powerful. For example, for myself, coming out of gate 58, gate 58 is the joy gate of like self-expressed joy. When you have this gate defined, you have the ability to create joy, like call on it from within you and flood it through your system. People who don't have access to this gate, who don't have definition this gate, who are not connected in with somebody in the now who has that definition, they have to experience a joyful thing in the now to feel that feeling. I call this experience is like, I can call on a memory and be flooded with joy as if I'm living that for the first time again. For other people, for example, like when they think of Disneyland, if they don't have this gate defined, they just are thinking of Disneyland. They're not flooding themselves with the feeling of joy that they had when they were 2 years old or the first time they saw Mickey Mouse and they thought that he was real. They have to go back to Disneyland to experience that joy. So that's like overview of that channel. But when you look, or I'm sorry, that gate, but when you look into the layers of that gate, the 6 ways it can be expressed, for me, this is something that people have always commented on, like my joyousness in a way that like kind of like pisses them off, especially when I was moving through the depths of my journey with Luna, my daughter. A lot of people hated on me that I could stay in a state of joy when she was dying. And when I looked into the depths of that gate, I super expressed that gate. I have it expressed in 3 of the lines within that gate. And they are all about exuberant joy, like out of this freaking world joy, insane energy that comes from this space. And knowing the depths of that gate, like it set me free because people comment about all the things that I can do in a day all the time, but they're saying it from a space where they're like hating me for it, not necessarily admiring me. They're thinking I'm fake or that I can't possibly be that because they're not. I couldn't possibly be joyous while my daughter was in that part of her chapter dying. And it's like, of course, I was dying inside, but also had to stay in the light with her because that's all her life was almost the whole entire journey of her beginning part of her life was just being in the death portal. And so we made that conscious decision. Thank God my husband has that gate. And so does every child of mine have that gate. And so we kind of just like, we're literally in a joy bubble, beaming joy back and forth to each other. Yes, we crashed and burned and our hearts were breaking and we were dying right along with her. But in the now moments, we were able to just reflect that joy and love to her. That now that I know human design, I'm able to like understand that more instead of letting people's opinions of me and how I express joy like take me down. It's like their reflection. That's your shit. Just you can't do that or you haven't tapped into that. But it doesn't make me a bad person because I didn't sit there and like fall apart at every seam possible and just sit in the depression and constantly talk to everybody and to Luna that she was going to die and stay in that energy. So there is beauty in diving deeper into human design. And some of the other depths that you can dive into are like your digestion type, your environment. So your digestion type has to do with not only how you're meant to eat, but how you're meant to eat information, like how you're meant to process information. And that's another part of like understanding yourself, of seeing like even in business, if you're meant to be in like a high sound space to eat. So like bustling like restaurants is like you'll scarf down your food, you get the best experience, but you also need to be working in that. So if you work alone in your house and there's nothing going on there, you're not going to be in your best environment for processing information while you're working. And so there's so many different spaces. It's like, what I love about human design is just like never ending. You're bored of looking at your throat center. Great. Go dive into your root center and all your different gates and channels and all of that goodness.
So what is the digest? What is that? Is that a gate? Is it a
your digestion? No. So digestion is actually part. So there's hidden layers in human design that, like I said,
can't
most
see
people
that.
don't
I'm
talk
not sure
about.
what that I still can't. It's
Not
just
all, not all of the, sometimes when you put yourself into a calculator, Angela is showing you that sometimes when you put yourself into a calculator, it will tell you what your digestion type is. It comes from a layer of human design that is the health system that is built into human design. And again, why it's one of those things that a lot of people don't talk much about, because it's part of the depths of human design and not like a surface layer of that. And your digestion type has to do with its own calculation of who you are. So if you're using a more in-depth calculator, it should tell you what your digestion type is, your environment, whether it's like caves or markets or shores, and the different digestion types.
Do you see
There's
it, Sarah? Do you want to send me your birth info and I'll show you?
Oh, well, do you want me to just share my screen? How do you want to do that? Whoop, shoot,
Just
what did I
saying,
just?
do you see what she's saying, like on your chart? Do you see those on the part normally where it has design type, inner authority, profile? Like there's just a list of things that normally have, well, I shouldn't say normally, but some charts show you.
Design type. The whole, yeah, for some reason I don't have that on this one. I don't have the full one. Okay, so that's,
always share on every calculator.
yeah, I don't have it on this one for some, no, I think I have it, but I don't have it on this one. What is that? That's what I'm trying to do. It's like Zoom changes things around. Yeah, so I don't have all the information that goes with that. That's all I have at the moment that I'm looking at.
Yeah.
So that's like all the wordy stuff that goes with it that comes along with it. Okay, so what kind of digestion would I be oh, do I need to stay there? Sorry.
No,
Okay.
I mean, I can put it in if you tell me your birth info.
Okay, it's 12, 8, oops. Sorry. December 18, 1967. I'm old.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not. I do not feel old. I do not want to be old. I was watching a guy on a show the other night and was 93 and I swear he looked like he was 60, acted like he was 60, just amazing person.
That's cool.
Very active person.
I saw you were born at 2:30.
2:30, yeah, Roanoke, Virginia.
Mistyped. I put you in Roanna, Veneto, Italy.
Ooh, fancy. Maybe that was me in another life.
Maybe. So you have, I'll send it to you, but you have indirect digestion and your environment is valleys.
So what does that mean? In a brief way, I guess.
It's probably indirect light is your digestion type. So you do best like not being under fluorescent bulbs, not being in super bright light, but being in more indirect light. So the lighting is really important for you. So you might also feel best like eating in the very like early morning hours before daylight really like is fully bright and in dusk. And if you don't, you might want to play around with that and see how that feels to not be eating or absorbing information in direct light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I work really well early in the morning.
There you go.
Like want to sit down and get to it first thing in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Dog doesn't like that very much. Okay, that's cool. Interesting. Yeah, it's quite fascinating, I will say. It's been fun to learn more about it.
Yeah.
So I can get off of here and y'all can like finish up your little
Oh, no.
your conversation if y'all need to.
That's okay. We were just buying time until anybody joined us with me. Yeah.
Well, I guess you're probably not going to do the Queen's Ball because that's a really quick turnaround for you and to leave your babies.
I know. I want to. I wish that I had like a jet that I could just get on and come for the day. Supposed to go to California for Luna to see her neurosurgeon, though I don't know that that'll actually happen. We've been like hung up with insurance on a special MRI that we need to get for her, and my husband can't take off, and I am not about to take 3 kids in on a road trip to California. I just like I have really bad anxiety about it. I can't tell if it's just because like that's overwhelming or like it's a bad like don't do it, some like a car accident, or what if I break down?
Yeah.
Have like a medically fragile child, a little baby. So I'm just like, I can't do it by myself. But it's that same week that the ball is. That first when Anj told me a couple of weeks ago about it, I was like, ooh, maybe I could like manifest to happen. But the next one, I'll be at the next one. Yeah.
Yay.
I think you
Yeah.
guys are gonna have so much fun, and I love the whole like ball gown aspect of it, and or whatever you feel good in. It doesn't have to be a ball gown, but you like fancy clothes that do, and yeah, even just being on that side of the country this time of year where like all the leaves are changing colors and it's like real
It's-
fall.
we're
Yeah,
almost done now, which is crazy.
Are
it
you?
is.
Like the wind has blown it all away. Yeah.
Yeah, when we moved to Indiana, we moved right after my birthday in October of 2018. And we got there like right as the leaves had changed colors, and we got a little bit of fall before it started snowing. And I loved it. My husband didn't love it, but I loved it. I love snow and cold and fall. And even the spring there was beautiful for a little bit, but not at all. The one I feel like we were there for one day when it actually turned summer, and I was like, thank God we're leaving. I could literally just never leave the house. I'd have to just be inside all the time, and it's too hot and sticky. I did the same thing when I lived in South Carolina. I only spent one summer
Yeah.
there, and it's like I can't even breathe. I can never do this again. Like
Yeah,
I'm
South Carolina
cold.
in the summer is hard. Yeah.
Yes.
Richmond in the summer is hard. Richmond is because it's on the James and it's just I think it's because it's just close enough to the coast that all that the coastal winds come
It's like
in.
trapped.
Oh, and it's just muggy and awful and terrible, terrible, awful place. I love it, but it's terrible, awful.
I'm definitely a dry heat or no heat at all person.
Mm,
Unless I'm on the beach with a fruity
with a good
drink and I don't want to be in the heat.
and a nice breeze.
Yes.
Yeah, that's something about here is we pretty much always have a breeze of some sort. It's a rare day that we don't have a breeze here.
I'd say that too about Las Vegas. It's very windy here all the time. So there's almost always a breeze as well, if not it being obnoxiously windy,
Yeah.
which you would not think of. But we're in like the bowl. There's mountains that surround us completely, and so we like the air just kind of gets like trapped and
Is it sandy there? I mean, does the sand blow or is it?
it depends on like where you are. So like our backyard is just almost all dirt. We rent, so it's not my choice that it's all dirt, but it is. And so that will trip up. Like when I just put the baby to be in his seat outside with his brother, I had to like shake it off because it was very windy last night. So there's a bunch of dirt on there. But if you're like in the city more where there's not a bunch of like dirt lots, so we kind of live on the edge of town where
Right.
there's more desert and dirt lots that haven't been developed yet. So it can get dusty, but nothing like
Yeah.
Dust Bowl or anything. And we don't really get those, what are those things called in Arizona that they get? Those big dust storms like hijabi, something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, we
Yeah.
don't really get.
Egypt was very sandy.
Oh my God.
Because I mean it's yeah, when you get out, well, especially the desert, but in Cairo it was very sandy. Just because because they're right on the edge of the desert. And so it just blows all through there. It was kind of weird
Yeah.
and wild. And the roads going out into the desert, they're just constantly covered with sand
I've
because
seen
of
that
this.
before. Yeah.
It's wild.
When you're driving from like here to California, there is like an old rare railroad.
Hmm.
Um, Not only a railroad, but like I don't know what to call it. It's a road for cars, but it's built like a railroad and it's like wooden plank road. And the only reason, well, back then, the only reason that they stopped using it is because the sand would not only shift the road, but completely cover it over and over and over again. And with my curious brain, I've always wondered, like, since I learned that when I was little, like, so does somebody come and like maintain all of these roads? Because why would these roads not get covered in sand when we're going? But maybe there's so much traffic that like the cars
Yeah,
move.
the cars, yeah, I would say that, yeah, especially these days, there's so much traffic that the
Yeah,
cars are doing it. Yeah. Yeah. That's fascinating. Yeah.
that's crazy. I can honestly not at all. I think this all the time whenever we like drive from here to anywhere. I'm like, how did anybody do this in a covered wagon? Like we go through like a big mountain that they like blew the mountain open so that the road can go through. And I'm just like, how on earth did anybody ever do that?
Yeah.
It's
Well, and also, thinking about the fact that the whole East Coast was chestnut tree. Well, a lot of chestnut tree, thousands and thousands of chestnut trees, which are huge. Not quite as big as the redwoods, but they were monster trees. And then, and so they had to navigate through all of that. Huge woods, right? Not little woods like we have now. And then the plains where it was 8-foot grasses. So I mean, how do you even know where the hell you're going? Right? It's like you follow the animal tracks is pretty much what, and that's why I'm one of the reasons for developments being around rivers, and then also because it's water. But yeah, it was easier to navigate when you could follow a river, so, or a creek bed or something. So yeah, it's quite fascinating.
the
Yeah.
lost knowledge that we've lost with like having navigation systems and
Yeah.
been like compass. Well, actually, I think compasses were around back then when they were
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
like, doing the Oregon Trail and stuff like that. But
Yeah. The big waters.
yeah,
Yeah, that's the other thing. They had to get on a ship first and then and not know where the hell they were going and
yeah,
then get off the ship and figure it out. Yeah, kind of
it's
amazing.
Yeah.
I know I always am enamored by that. So, yeah. Alrighty, girls.
All right. Thanks for joining, Sarah.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah. I appreciate your knowledge. All of my young, knowledgeable ones. I love it. Always learning, always learning.
Hmm.
Yes.
Well, have a good rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow on 333.
Thank you. Bye.